Hey, what you got there?
I'm enjoying a refreshing Sprite.
Spright. You mean Splight, right?
Why would I mean Splight?
It just seems like a better translation, in my opinion. You know, it's a better pun. It's like Sprite and light, and they're lights. You know, I just think it flows better. You know.
Joseph, I'm just enjoying a drink.
I know you're enjoying a drink, but I just have some opinions about it. Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. Okay, tier was fun, but now it's time to get serious. The best deck in the upcoming format will be Spright. Spright is a series of Link 2s, Rank 2s, and Level 2s that I can assure you will be too much to handle. Let's take a look.
Want a Sprite cranberry?
So here's the list. Like the Tearalement list, there's a lot you can do with this archetype, but this is the baseline pure build. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website that everyone's been using for their progression series, but you might have missed it's also got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I personally use it to post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's slide into Spright. Spright is a lore archetype. I'm pretty sure they're the bastard love children of the Springans, the Therions, and Pikachu. This series of Thunder-type monsters comes in 4 unique and crazy colors. The first, blue, on special summon, can search a Spright monster. The second, red, can negate a monster's effect. The third, jet, can add a Spright spell or trap from deck to hand. And the fourth, carrot, is a spell trap negate. Their Link monsters allow you to extend into powerful bosses like the unbelievable Gigantic Spright, a monster which checks all the boxes for pushed and problematic end boss. As a result, the pie charts for tournaments following Spright's release in the OCG looked more like circles. Now, there are some small differences that may make this deck less dominant than it was overseas, but while the OCG players are much better at winning worlds, I'll be honest with you, TCG players are much better at coping. I've heard all manner of naysaying about these knuckleheads. Without the level 2 Maxi, they're much less powerful. With the available combo strategies, it might be pushed out by Punk. Let me be clear, none of these are true. By combining this archetype with the perennially powerful Frog archetype and the devastating Deep Sea Diva, we can ensure the deck can play through just about anything, around just about anything, and for just about anything. The rest of the space in the deck is filled with extremely targeted hand traps at a Tearalement and Spright meta. Oh, and also, apparently, Dark Ruler. I guess that's what we're doing now. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, our Sprights. Now, each Spright has the same summoning condition. If you control a level or rank 2 monster, you can special discard from your hand, and you can only do that once per turn. If Spright Jet is special summoned, you can add 1 Spright spell trap from your deck to your hand. If Spright Blue is special summoned, you can add 1 Spright monster from your deck to your hand. While Spright Red is on the field, you can tribute another level, rank, or link 2 monster to negate the effect of an opponent's monster activation. If you tributed a rank or link 2 monster, you get to destroy that monster as well. And Spright Carrot does the exact same thing for spell traps. After that, we've got the extremely powerful Toad engine that begins with 3 copies of Swap Frog. Swap Frog does so much for this archetype. Not only does it get it really early Toads, and Toad is an integral part of your end board, it also dodges just about every relevant hand trap. We're playing 1 Dupe Frog to summon on our opponent's turn and 1 Ronin Toad. No need to clog with extras. Now, while you don't really want to spend your normal summon on anything, if you are going to use it, Deep Sea Diva is a pretty fantastic place to do so. Deep Sea Diva summons another monster from deck, and both of those monsters are not only waters, they are tuners, which means you can make Halka Fibrax for a very funny line. After that, we've got 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of DD Crow against a Tearalement meta, and 3 copies of Frame Gear Gamma. This is in here not only because it's a target for emergency teleport, but also if you're trying to resolve a Spright starter while you don't have anything on your field and your opponent ashes you, you can win the game on the spot. We've got a Driver as well as 3 Dark Ruler no more, 3 Starter, which allows you to special summon a Spright from your deck, and if you do lose life points equal to its original attack, then for the rest of the turn after after this card resolves, you can't special monsters except level, rank, or link 2 monsters. Now, this lock is on both Spright Starter and Gigantic Spright and Spright Elf. So if you want to summon something ridiculous, you've got to do it before you commit to any of those. We're playing 3 copies of E-Telly, 3 copies of Infip, and 1 Yamatako Orochi. Now, this is the single flex slot in the deck. It can be a lot of stuff. It can be 1 additional Spright name. It can be a corner case hand trap, maybe another copy of Dupe Frog or Ronin Totem if you're a baby, but I like Yamatako Orochi more than anything else. This card can be used as an 8-star monster if you're performing a synchro summon using it as a tuner. That means it plus any 2 on your side of the field, maybe one that's already expended its effects like Blue or Jet, can make a Baron de Fleur very early into your combo. By normal summoning something like a Deep Sea Diva, you can also summon this card from your deck because it is a Sea Serpent. After that, we've got the extra deck, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Zeus because we can make it on the Crackback, Downer and Magician as well to give it a little more oomph. Totally Awesome is unbelievable in this deck, and you really do only need the 1 copy. You can summon it to your side of the field, then you can use the effect of Spright Elf to bring it back to your side of the field, getting 2 negations over the course of the turn. Gigantic Spright is a mess. For this card's Xyz summon, you can treat a Link 2 monster you control as a level 2 monster. Now, Spright has a pretty clear weakness in that all of their monsters cap out at really low attack point totals, with the exception of Gigantic Spright, which circumvents that weakness entirely because if it uses a Fusion Synchro Xyz or Link monster as material, its original attack is doubled. During your main phase, you can activate this effect, prevents both players from special summoning monsters for the rest of the turn except level, rank, and link 2 monsters, meaning you are now insulated against your opponent's Gamma because they would have to summon a driver. You get to detach a material from a monster you control, and if you do, you can special summon 1 level 2 monster from your deck. Does not have to be a Spright, so frequently you're going to be using it to get Swap Frog. After that, we have a copy of Cat Shark. Frequently, you just need to get over stuff, and Gigantic Spright can get really, really big with this bad boy. We're playing 1 copy of Trouble Sunny for a sideboarded card that's not going to show up, but you will all understand why this is in here after you play a little bit of the format. 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. He's got a high attack for a Link 2, but importantly, he's also a target for Deck Devastation Virus, which is going to be a popular sideboard tech. We've got 1 copy of Crystron Hauka Fibrax, 2 copies of Spright Elf, and 1 copy of Salamangreat Almirage. So, hoping that we get to show off the power that this deck holds, and hoping that we just see a bunch of 2s. See you in the games. Our first match is up against Ninja, and God, do I love this archetype. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Ninja has received a couple of waves of support, and I spent a ton of time back in like 2017 brewing a way to use Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo to U-Link an opponent, and I got there. The unfortunate truth is just the deck is not all the way there yet. The new support might do it, and I guess we'll find out over the course of this duel. Our opponent is playing not only Calamity Upon the Hidden City, but also Insect Ninja Mitsu, so I guess we'll see what it can do. They're going to begin with a copy of Calamity Among the Hidden City, then they'll go for Jogan. They'll special that Jogan, and then activate the effect of Mitsu to summon it in defense position, going for a Saizo here, and a set copy of Shingetsu, then activating Hidden Village of Ninjutsu Arts. This is a deceptively powerful board, but it's nowhere near powerful enough. We're going to go for a Swap Frog here. We're going to send a copy of Ronin Toad and then add Swap Frog back to hand. We're going to activate that Swap Frog effect once again. We're going to activate its effect to set a copy of Swap Frog, then special summon a red so we are insulated against monster effects before we go for a Ronin Toad and a Gigantic Spright. We'll activate that effect in order to summon a blue, and blue into Jet, and Jet into Starter, and I hate this deck so much already. We're going to go for Elf to bring back this copy of Swap Frog. We'll activate Swap Frog one more time to send a Swap Frog, and we'll banish that Swap Frog for Ronin Toad so we can go for a Toad super early. We'll go for Jet here. We're going to trigger Jet to get a copy of Starter. We'll fire Starter to go ahead and get ourselves a copy of Carrot, the only name we haven't exhausted this turn. We're going to go Virus Swordsman just because, unfortunately, our attack values aren't fantastic here. We are going to DD Crow their monster so they aren't able to protect with the field spell. They're going to go for Fallen Leaves Dance to cycle into a Mitsu. Then they're going to activate Green Ninja as Chainlink 2. We can negate that with the Carrot, but they are going to get to use their field spell to cycle the Shingetsu back to hand. That said, we should be in a fine position from here. We're going to activate the effect of Totally Awesome in standby phase. They will chain the effect of their Fallen Leaves Dance to get it back into their hand, and then in main phase 1 they'll go for Tobari, which we will negate. They're going to afterwards normal summon this copy of the Shingetsu, which is going to allow us to use Spright Elf to bring back the Totally Awesome and potentially negate another card. They go to the battle phase, realize they can only attack Dupe Frog, and we get the Salty Disconnect. Our second match is up against Fluondereeze, and I don't know, looks like pretty much every Fluondereeze hand I've ever opened. 2 copies of Reza? Sure. We're going first, and our hand is kind of a stinker. We don't have immediate access to Swap Frog, so we're going to have to get it through the gigantic Spright. We're going to go there now with the Deep Sea Divas. We're going to get a copy of Swap Frog. We'll activate the effect. That's going to send from deck to graveyard a copy of Ronin Totem. From here, we're going to link summon a Spright Elf. Then we'll activate the effect, bringing back the Swap Frog, which triggers it again, allowing us to send a Swap Frog, which we can banish to summon the Ronin Totem back. So this is just an infinite impermanence and a Totally Awesome, but the Totally Awesome can be activated twice because of the Elf. Our opponent's going to go for the Infip and standby. You can't target the monsters that Spright Elf points to, but you can target the Spright Elf, which means they will be able to prevent us from bringing back the Toad. They'll go for the map. I figure I might as well Toad this, because if we can keep the map off the field, we can definitely contest one normal. They're going to go for Robina. They're going to chain link to the Toucan. We're going to infinite impermanence, and that is the end of the game. Gosh, I love Fluonderies in the year of our Lord 2022. We're going to go for Diva here. We're going to get the Yamato, and then we're going to go for a Baron de Fleur, pop their monster. Completely unnecessary, but it's very funny, and for that reason I'm doing it. We'll overlay for a gigantic Spright. Now that we have summoned our level 10 monster, we'll go through the entire Spright line here. We're going to go blue into Jet, special the Jet, use Jet to get a copy of Starter, and then, oh, let's Elf to bring back this Ronin Totem. Let's go for a Cat Shark. We'll activate Cat Shark to increase the attack of our gigantic Spright, and then bring back the Ronin Totem so we can make ourselves a copy of Virus Swordsman. This gets it in the least amount of attacks, which is funny. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Tearalement, and I mean, of course they are. What else would they be playing? They've opened pretty well. Myru plus the field spell plus... Ooh, what is this? Denier! Something's going on here. Unfortunately, we are going first. We're going to begin with a copy of Starter to get blue. We're going to go blue into Jet, and then we're going to go Jet into a Starter for next turn. From here, we can special summon the Spright Red from our hand to insulate us against hand traps before going into a gigantic Spright and using its effect to get a Swap Frog into rotation. Now, you might think that drawing the Ronin Totem is really bad, but we can use Swap Frog to put it back into the hand and then special summon it using its own effect by pitching the Ronin Totem. Even the Garnets are extenders. We'll go for Ronin Totem here, and then we'll make a copy of Elf. We can Ronin Totem again because we had an extra material engraved to go into a Toad, and then we'll use Elf to bring back this Jet for more material for our red. We'll set one card and pass back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn. That's a good one. We'll go for the Toad to get a copy of Dupe Frog, and we will pass back priority. They're going to go for the field spell. I just want to keep monsters out of the grave, so that's fine. We're going to go for the red here to negate the effect of the Shaylin. That is going to keep it in the hand as well. We'll go for the Toad afterwards in order to take the polymerization and then trigger the Toad in order to get back the Swap Frog. Our opponent's going to normal summon a monster, which means that our Elf can now bring back the Totally Awesome. They are going to get to mill 3, and they mill a Myru, but unfortunately Myru has to use itself as material, so the DD Crow will make quick work of that. We retain our negate, and at end step we can go for Starter to get a copy of blue, blue for a copy of Jet, Jet for a copy of Starter on our turn, and we even drew the tuner. Okay, this is really funny. We're going to go for the Starter before we make a copy of Unicorn. We're going to Unicorn using Swap Frog as the material, and then normal summon the Orochi to make a Baron de Fleur. We're going to bring back this Ronin Totem so we can overlay for another gigantic Spright. This is completely unnecessary at this point, but it is very funny, so I will continue to do it. We'll go for the Cat Shark, then activate the effect of the Ronin Totem before proceeding to combat. We're going to get in for 14, for 32, and for lethal damage with the Cat Shark. So it's time for game 2, and oh, driver in the opener! Okay, this DD Crow is looking nice. They're going to begin with a copy of Rhino Heart. They're going to send a Hophiness from deck to graveyard, to which we will chain DD Crow. So they set one and pass. Okay, we should be able to wrap this one up. We will draw for turn. That might come in handy later. We're going to go for a Carrot, then special summon a blue, so we are protected from the trap card at all times. So go blue into Jet, Jet into Starter, and Starter into red. From here, we will overlay the 2 spent Sprites in order to make gigantic. We'll use its effect in order to summon a Swap Frog from deck. We'll activate the Swap Frog's effect in order to send a Ronin Totem, then make an Elf. At this point, our opponent flips the back row. We will activate Carrot. Carrot only negates the effect, which means that our opponent is not even going to get the float from the Salic. They would have if we had tributed a Link 2 monster instead. As a result, we can go for the Toad line. We'll get in for 700, 1400, and 1000. We'll set one and pass back to our opponent, and prepare to see a play that you will see replicated many, many times in this upcoming format, the turn 3 Dark Ruler No More. That's going to neuter our 2 negates. They're going to go for a Myru. We will infinite impermanence, and oh, thank God, that is the end of their turn. They will set one and pass back to us. We should be able to clean this one up. They're going to go for Solic in the draw phase. They'll trigger the effect of the Myru. We'll negate. They'll call by. I guess we shouldn't have sent the Toad, but we do still have the Carrot, so we can destroy the called by as well. That'll negate everything. We'll go for the Toad here and get back the Swap Frog, and we should be good from this position. We're going to go for the blue. We'll trigger blue in order to get ourselves a copy of red to hand. We'll special summon that, normal summon the Swap Frog, and send a Swap Frog to grave. We'll go for Elf, trigger Elf in order to bring back Swap Frog. We're out of targets for Swap Frog. We'll go for Ronin Totem, and then we'll overlay for a gigantic Spright. We'll activate the effect, and the gang is all here. We're going to activate the effect of Jet, and we'll proceed to the battle phase. Spright Force, move out! That is lethal damage. So we're back with the deck, and let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, the deck is crazy. It's nuts. It's out of this world strong. 2, there aren't really hand traps that beat it. Since every single monster represents like 12 Spright summons from the hand, it's possible you get Ashed and Veilered and Infipped and Crowed and you still win because nothing contested the normal summon of the Swap Frog. And 3, it's funny that they planned weaknesses for this strategy, like the attack values capping out really low, and then just decided, nah, fuck it, Gigantic is a 3600 attack point monster. And the cons. 1, it's got the tier 0 problem. I expect this deck to be so absolutely everywhere that people are going to be playing crazy stuff out of the board to target it. Get ready to lose to like a Stygian Dirge or the Band Played On or something. 2, people are going to get really good at playing against this. When you've got a centralized meta, practice is just something you have to account for less. And 3, you could... I don't know, I have no idea. This deck's insane. All in all, good luck everybody. I'm going to go play Digimon.